Donald Trump is having a horrible Monday, a horrible return to Washington, D.C. Following Thanksgiving. Donald Trump's regime continues to collapse. His poll numbers are the lowest in presidential history. And in order to try to distract, Donald Trump is now calling a meeting of his war cabinet today where they are going to talk potentially invading Venezuela. Now, the United States of America people do not want war with Venezuela. Overwhelmingly, 70% of Americans say they do not want a war with Venezuela right now. And also 56% of Americans say if we went to war with Venezuela, there would be no change at all regarding the current condition of drugs entering the United States. Only 37% say that drugs would decrease into the United States if we went to war with Venezuela. Now, the Trump regime has been trying to justify this war with Venezuela by also saying the United States will seize all of Venezuela's oil, and this will be great for America's oil companies. You know, it would be great if we actually focused on the people in the United States of America who are suffering under the Trump regime as things are not affordable, as people are living paycheck to paycheck and can't afford their rent. Why don't we focus on that before you start invading nations and committing war crimes? Now, Donald Trump sent out all his propagandists this morning to try to pump up the American people for a war with Venezuela before Christmas. For example, you have MAGA Republican Congressmember Scott Fitzgerald. He went on state regime media, which calls itself Fox, and here's what he had to say. He goes, when you're in for a pound, you're in for a penny. He goes, when you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound. Here, play this clip.
The legality of all of this, that has been questioned about the president and the administration's military operations off the coast of Venezuela.
Yeah, if you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound on this, and we're in for a pound. The buildup is real. Members of Congress have been watching this. I know that there's some that have been briefed fully on where we're at in relation to not just Venezuela, but kind of the back and forth with the naval fleet being as highly concentrated as it is right now out of Caracas. Listen, Maduro is class. One of those individuals that I think President Trump could run circles around when it comes to negotiating. So I'm very hopeful that he's in a position now, that the president's in a position to force the hand and that we see Maduro step down soon. I think that has been the goal since day one. Mm-hmm. And I hope it happens this week.
Yeah.
Now, here's what MAGA Republican Congressmember Greg Murphy had to say on Maduro, that there's lots of precedent for regime change, and that's what we're going to do. Regime change in Venezuela. Here, play this clip.
Look at Venezuela. It was the gem of South America not 15 years ago, and now it's turned into an absolute debacle. That's a definition of socialism. I wish some of our Democratic colleagues would understand that. And you look, there is precedent for America going in and removing dictators. We did it in 1990 with Manuel Ortega in Panama. This fellow had a bounty on his head during the first Trump administration. The Biden administration increased the bounty, and now Trump, too, has increased the bounty again. This man is no good for the Western Hemisphere and needs to be removed.
Well, we do have certainly, I think it's 25% of naval ships are there now.
Then you had MAGA Republican Senator Mark Wayne Mullen making his rounds yesterday on the various shows, and he said, look, the president has made it clear we're going to use lethality with our military at home and abroad. Also, at home? Well, we see that with what they're doing with ICE agents and with the Border Patrol Gestapo here. Lethality at home? Here, play this clip.
The president and the Secretary of War has been very clear they're going to use lethality against our enemies, home and abroad. This has been very clear what's going on right now, that the drug organization that is considered a terrorist organization that is flooding our streets with drugs, that's killing Americans every single day, they're being proactive on it. Good on them. Are we doubting that these drug dealers are actually drug dealers? We think they're just out there fishing.
Then they bring on MAGA Republican Congress member Carlos Jimenez, and he's asked about the reporting that Pete Hegseth ordered a second strike after there were survivors on the fishing boat that was hit by the United States military. To be clear, all aspects of this operation, in my view, are war crimes, and certainly the second strike is a war crime, but I believe they're all war crimes. But MAGA Republican Congressman Carlos Jimenez says, look, Pete Hegseth's an honest guy, right? And Donald Trump's an honest guy. They both say it didn't happen. So why would we do what we're supposed to do in Congress and investigate? Let's just accept what Trump and Hegseth tell us. I kid you not, that's what MAGA's going with right now. Just Hegseth said he didn't do it and Trump said he didn't do it. So nothing to worry about here. Play this clip.
Congressman, there are now growing calls for an oversight hearing and investigation. Your thoughts on this?
Look, I mean, it just seems all strange to me that you get the Democrats coming out with a video saying, do not follow illegal orders. And then all of a sudden you get this, apparently these are anonymous kind of whistleblowers is saying that something happened here. So, I smell a rat here. I'm pretty sure that the Secretary of Defense had nothing to do with something like that. And it's just a way of, distracting from what really happened in D.C. Last week, where you had the murder of one National Guardsman and then the wounding of another by an Afghan refugee. And so, and I think it's just a distraction. So, I'm with the president on this one. I don't believe the reports. I don't believe that Pete Hegseth said that. But going back to what it's all about, this is a strike on we're striking terrorists that are bringing poison into the United States. This poison has killed hundreds of thousands of Americans.
When I hear things like that, I also then am like thinking to myself, you realize that the person you're telling us to trust is the same guy who on Air Force One said he didn't know what part of his body the MRI was preformed on. He goes, I don't know. Who knows what parts the MRI? They act like this guy's like some brilliant negotiator. He's going to out-negotiate Maduro. Trump's been the worst negotiator his entire life. He's actually never negotiated anything other than his companies into bankruptcy. Casino 1 bankruptcy, Casino 2 bankruptcy, Casino 3 bankruptcy. Go look at all of the products that Trump endorsed. Bankrupt, 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 bankrupt. His whole life is that he was born with a golden spoon from given to him by his father. And by the way, his father also had Alzheimer's, and that may have been passed down as well. But he's been given to all these things from his father, and he just ran things into the ground. Then he was friends with Jeffrey Epstein, and then he said that Epstein was a great guy, and he had this Epstein phase in his life. And then he was convicted of fraud. He's a criminal. He's a felon. He's been found liable for sexual abuse. What are we at? This guy's a master negotiator. The guy's actually the worst. Look at his companies right now. Trump Media crashing, Trump memes, stocks crashing. It's all crashing down. I mean, this is the guy you're saying that we should trust? Remember, here was Donald Trump on Air Force One when he was asked about the MRI and what part of the body he got the MRI on. Here, play this clip.
They asked about my MRI. MRIs are very...
Governor Walz asked you to release the MRI records.
Will you tell us what it was
Governor
for?
Walz? You mean the incompetent Governor Walz? So if they want to release it, it's okay with me to release it. It's perfect.
What were they
It's like my phone call where I got impeached. It's absolutely perfect. So if you want to hear about it or if you want to release it, do you want to have it released?
Yes,
News Nation? Failing News Nation?
No, sir, we're not failing.
News Nation is doing lousy, by the way. But if you want to have it released, I'll release it.
Yes, please. Can you tell us what they were looking at?
For what, releasing?
No. What part of your body was the MRI looking at?
I have no idea. It was just an MRI. What part of the body? It wasn't the brain because I took a cognitive test and I aced it. I got a perfect mark, which you would be incapable of doing. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you,
too.
Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir.
Ever wake up sweaty, freezing, or just uncomfortable? The temperature in your bedroom can make or break your sleep. That's why I switched to Miracle Made sheets. They're inspired by NASA technology and use silver-infused temperature-regulating fabric to help you sleep perfectly all night long. Miracle Made sheets are crafted with NASA-inspired silver-infused fabric that helps regulate your body temperature. Hot sleeper, cold sleeper, it doesn't matter. These sheets help keep you in the comfort zone all night long. Thanks to their antibacterial silver technology, Miracle Made sheets stay cleaner and fresher up to 3 times longer than regular sheets. That means fewer odors, fewer wash cycles, and way less laundry. They feel just as good, if not better, than sheets you'd find at a 5-star hotel. but without the steep price tag. Smooth, breathable, and ridiculously comfortable. Upgrade your sleep or give the gift of better rest. Go to trymiracle.com/Meidas to try Miracle Made sheets today. You'll save over 40%, and when you use promo code Meidas, you'll get an extra 20% off plus a free 3-piece towel set. They make an amazing gift. With a 30-day money-back guarantee, there's no risk. That's trymiracle.com/Meidas, code Meidas at checkout. Thanks to Miracle Made for sponsoring this episode.
All of this is taking place. There was also news that broke this morning that the FBI has compiled a dossier against its own FBI director, Kash Patel. They prepared a 115-page report saying that the FBI under Patel, the FBI director, is a rudderless ship and it's all effed up. And this 115-page report is being submitted by these FBI agents who are current and retired FBI agents. They're submitting it to the House and the Senate right now. And they're basically saying that Patel needs to go, that he's absolutely the worst. Quote, he's in over his head, and that Dan Bongino is something of a clown. They say that Patel is insecure, he lacks the requisite experience or the measured confidence to be an FBI director, has neither the breadth of experience nor the bearing of an FBI director that needs to be successful. And these FBI agents who stayed anonymous, but they all describe themselves as top FBI people who are still there, and also people who left the FBI. And by the way, some of these people were sympathetic to Donald Trump. They described the incident following the assassination of Charlie Kirk, where FBI Director Kash Patel flies into Utah and he refused to leave his plane until they give him an FBI raid jacket. And because Patel is a small guy, they only had FBI raid jackets in a size large and extra large, and those were too big for Patel. So they had to give Patel a female raid jacket that they found, but it didn't have the Velcro patches that Kash Patel liked. So they had to then find the Kash Patel Velcro patches. They found the patches after he threw a temper tantrum, and then he left the plane. And the FBI agents go into excruciating details here to outline what went down there. And they just describe it as how embarrassing it is that he had to wear this jacket, and they ended up giving him the FBI women's raid jacket. And then he had to put Velcro, and they had to find Velcro for his shoulder pads. Also, should be noted that the United States Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit just ruled that Alina Habba is disqualified as the United States Attorney in New Jersey. They confirmed the district court order, and the district court order was that she's an unlawful United States Attorney, yet she continued to call herself acting United States Attorney when she was not. Let me just read from you what the Third Circuit says. The Third Circuit Court of Appeals says, Habba is not the acting U.S. Attorney for the District of New Jersey by virtue of her appointment as First Assistant United States Attorney, because only the First Assistant in place at the time the vacancy arises automatically assumes the functions and duties of the office under the FVRA. Additionally, because Habba was nominated for the vacant U.S. Attorney position, the FVRA's nomination bar prevents her from assuming the role of acting United States Attorney. Finally, the Attorney General's delegation of all of the powers of a U.S. Attorney to Habba is prohibited by the FVRA's exclusive provision. Therefore, we affirm the district court's disqualification order. I know it may have sounded a little bit confusing, but the same way that Lindsay Halligan, for example, was unlawfully appointed, you had Alina Habba was unlawfully appointed. But Alina Habba was initially appointed as the interim. Her time period expired. The time period can be extended by a vote of the district court judges from that district court in New Jersey, made up of all different types of judges, Republican judges, Democrat judges, bipartisan. They didn't extend Alina Habba's term. So then what happens is the first assistant becomes the interim. But Trump and Alina Habba then fired the first assistant, and then they said, well, Alina Habba's now the first assistant, and because the court then allows the first assistant to remain the interim for a temporary period of time. Alina Habba goes, well, actually, then you appointed me, even though the judge has said, no, you're out, because Alina then, after not getting her term extended by the district court judges, then tried to steal the job of the first assistant so that she can then call herself the acting United States attorney. And if all of this is confusing, it should be, because this has never happened in our country before, ever really, because the normal process is the president nominates a attorney, the Senate confirms, and then the process is done. You have an interim for an interim period of time, right? A short period of time, and then they get confirmed. And if they don't get confirmed, the president nominates a new person, and that person becomes the actual United States attorney for that district. The process works. And if the senators don't like it, you work with the senators, you come up with compromises, you figure out, you get the person confirmed. That's the way our system works, not what this Trump regime is doing with all of these people. So she's been just claiming she's a fake United States attorney for all that. She said she's a United States attorney, but she hasn't been for all this period of time. There you have it. That's what's going on this morning. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million. Please subscribe if you can right now. We're trying to hit 6 million subscribers this month. Have a great one.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.